Welcome. In this video, we're going to show how to build a to-do app with PlanetScale MySQL database. So this is the typical structure. A user enters in some information in a browser that calls the API, and that in turn calls the database. So in this demo that we're going to be doing, the client side and the API is handled by WebDigital, and the database is going to be handled by PlanetScale MySQL service. So in order to build this, first we're going to be setting up the database at PlanetScale. We're going to set up a get API from PlanetScale. We're going to display the tasks that are coming from that get API. We're going to do add task, update task, delete task, and that's the overall summary. All right, so in order to get started, let's set up the PlanetScale database. So PlanetScale is an awesome service. It is truly impressive. It's using a MySQL compatible database. It's actually Vitess. It's extremely scalable, very, very big, and yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend this service. When you connect, it's really easy to sign up, and you just need to create a database. And then once you create a database, I created a test database here, as you can see. Yeah, it just makes it very, very easy to set it up. You can even branch. If you want to do connect, you can pick like different options. So it gives you the username, the connection information. So this is basically what we're going to be using to connect. So this is the secret that we're going to be entering on the WebDigital side. So we can just copy that. And yeah, so this is, and then you can actually come to the console and connect, and you can execute queries here. Like I said, this is MySQL compatible, so you can actually do show tables. So we created the database already. We're going to be creating the tasks table. It's a very, very simple table with just task ID and the task text. So this is going to be auto increment. Yeah, so that's basically creating the task table. We're going to populate it with a few tasks manually, so that we can load them when we set up the get API. And all right, so now let's take a look at to make sure if they're there. And yeah, so they're coming along. The table is populated. So now we are ready to execute the get API. All right, so in order to do that, let's just head over to the get API. So first we have to enter the PlanetScale connection secret. Now this is set up, like I said, when you go to the PlanetScale overview, there's the connect information over here. You can pick like different options, but the one that we're going to be using is this. It does not show you, like when you first create the database, it actually shows you the password and all that stuff. But right now, it actually does not. So, I have it already in my clipboard. So what we'll do is we're going to come to WebDigital, go to account information, API secrets, and we're going to be entering this as, let's call it PlanetScale. And this is the value that I copied over. So we can actually make this bigger. So as you can see, the password is missing. So I'm just going to be copying and pasting that password. And yeah, so that is it. So now we actually have connection secret set up in WebDigital. So now we need to create the get API. So in order to do that, let's create a website. This is going to be a blank one, to do app. All right. So now we're going to be setting it up in the home component. Let's go to the JS API. We're going to add a get API. All right. Let me just expand this. All right. So what we need to do now is we added the created the Get API. We need to install the PlanetScale npm library. So for that one, we're actually going to use the this library in npm PlanetScale database. It's a serverless driver. It's perfect. We don't have to deal with pooling or keeping them in memory. So yeah, it works perfectly with WebDigital. So we're gonna come over here and we're gonna say npm libraries. You need to add PlanetScale to those dependencies. All right, so now it is actually added. Now we need to import the database. So let me just increase this and then focus. So yeah, I'm basically going to be just adding this connect. So that's all I'm doing right now. And let's see, what else do we need to do? We need to create the connection from the PlanetScale connection string. So for the get, we don't really need, let me just focus here. We don't really need any parameters. We will need to get the connection using the PlanetScale database, and this does need to be an async function. All right, let me just zoom out. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to get the tasks connection execute method. So we're going to be, let me just expand this again, zoom. All right, so now we're going to be doing this. So we're just doing select star from tasks, and we're getting them into tasks array, and then we're going to be returning that. And that's it. That's our Get API. So so now it's ready to be used by the client side. All right, so now in order to do that, let's come over to this section, display tasks. So what we need to do is we need to fetch the tasks using the Get API on mount, and then we need to save it in state, and then we're going to be displaying the tasks with the repeater from the state. We're not going to set up the progress for now, but I mean like a little loading bar or whatever during the time that we call the API, but it can be added later. There's a separate video about that. See the switch video. So, all right, let's just fetch the tasks. So we're going to be adding a class first, a component class for the home component. Let me just expand and zoom. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add tasks into the state. All right. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add mount event, component did mount. And we're going to be doing, first we're going to be calling the API. So the Get API that we prepared. And this needs to be an async function as well. And we're going to call the Get. There are no parameters. And then we're going to be adding the response. Now, there's a rows property. So this is how the API is working. I mean, the PlanetScale API. So we're going to be setting the state. We're going to say tasks response.rows. Okay. So yeah, it's very simple. When it starts up, we call the server API, and then we set the tasks. All right. Let me just zoom out here. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is actually display this somewhere, right? So for that, let's just start adding a basic UI. So I'm going to add this block. Let's just make the size about maybe about 400 pixels, something like a phone. All right, so this should be enough for now. And I'm going to make the margins auto on both sides so that it can be centered. All right, we have our little section here. I'll add a little border to make sure we can see it clearly. And let's add a little padding as well, maybe about 10 pixels, 20 pixels. something like that. Okay. So now let's add a little heading that we're going to say tasks. Okay, so now we have our section here, the UI. So now we need to, we fetch the tasks, we save them in state. So now we need to display the tasks with the repeater. So let's just add the repeater. The repeater is actually under dynamic section. There is the repeater over here. And yeah, so we need to display the task. So the first thing to do is set up the function for the repeater. So let's just come over here. I'm going to expand it again, pull this up so that you can see as I'm working on it. All right, now zoom. Okay, so for the repeater loop function, I'm just going to be returning the task from the state. That's all I'm doing. And let's zoom out. And so let's get back. And then there is one more thing to set up over here as to how we're going to be, what we're going to be calling the record as we loop. So each task, what are we going to be calling that? We're going to call it task. So what that means is it can be accessed as this.context.task as we're looping through. All right, so now we're going to be adding a block inside the repeater. So this is going to be our repeater repeating element. And we're going to add a dynamic text to display the task. And for the dynamic text, I'm going to create another function. Let's edit that. Let me maximize this. Zoom. Sorry. Let me just move this up first. All right. And now zoom. Okay. So so what we're going to do is this.context.task, which is what we set up. And we also need the column name task text. And yeah, so that should be all we need at this point. So let's try running the mount event. Yeah, so now our information is actually coming in from the database. So we had actually let's connect to the console again. So we can say select start from tasks, and we have test 1, test 2, and that's what we're displaying here. All right, so the displaying of the tasks is now completed. So we just need to do add task. All right, so in order to do that, let's head over here. All right, add task. So the first thing that we got to do is we need to add an add API. So that's going to be very similar to the get API. So let's just copy the code over here, get to the API list, add new. I'm going to say add API. All right, and I'm going to just copy and paste the code. Now this is going to have the same dependency as the get API. So let's just add it over here. All right, so now this is added. Let me just do this full screen focus. All right, so this is where things are going to differ a little bit. So for the add API, we actually need to do an insert, not a select. So for that one, let me just zoom out again. We had it in here. So this is the SQL that we want to use. But obviously it's a little bit different for MySQL. So let me just zoom in again. All right, so we're going to do insert into tasks, task values. So this needs to come as a parameter. So what we'll do is we're going to do a question mark, and then this is going to be coming as a parameter like that. All right, so this is going to be inserting the task, and then it's going to be returning a response. And in the response, we're going to be sending the insert ID. All right, so this is the way that the MySQL insert works. All right, let's zoom out and close this. All right, so we got the insert ID and returned it. So we need to now add a new task input and button. Let's just do that over here. I'm going to come over here to the elements tree. So you can see We have the repeater over here. I want to add the input block to add a new task between the heading and the repeater. So I'm just going to come and add this over here. And in this thing, we're going to need text input. So it's under forms, text field. All right. And next to this, we want add after, let's do button. All right. And the block itself is going to be flex. And we want space between. And and then align center so that the button does not get stretched out. And for the button, let's do a little bit of left margin so that it can separate itself. All right, and then we're going to be calling this button add. All right, so this is going to be adding the new task. We need to call this something sensible. Let's call this new task. And the ID has to be something specific so that we can select. I mean, we can copy and paste the same auto ID that's used here, but it's best to use something legible so that it's going to be clear. All right. So now we have some input. We added the input. So we need to call the add API on click and update the tasks in state with the return task ID. So that's what we're going to be doing. We create the add API. We're going to be calling that, and we're going to update the tasks in state. All right. So let's just do that. So we have the button over here in the JavaScript events. We're going to add the event for click. All right. And let me just move this up while I edit it so that we can focus on it. All right. And let me focus. All right. So now we need to do the, so this is the insert add task click. All right. So what we need to do now is get the new task text. And that's we're going to get this from the get child DOM element new task dot value. So this is the API for the component get child DOM element, and then this is the ID that we just used that returns us the actual HTML element, and then the value is whatever has been entered in that input. And we're going to be calling the add API. So we're going to say response. And let's rename this as new task ID. So that what's getting returned is going to be the new task ID. And then we're going to do call API, add, and then the input is going to be new task text. All right. And if we actually do have a new task ID, meaning everything went fine, then we're going to do set state. And the tasks are going to be this state.tasks.concat. So what are we going to be adding? So the new task is going to be task ID is going to be the new task ID, and the task text is going to be the new task text. All right. And yeah, that should be it. Oh, okay. Let me just we need to do the async over here. And yeah, I think I also forgot one more thing, because when I try to save it, it gives an error. So every time that we save, the system actually reevaluates it to make sure that it's valid. So in this case, let's see, what would we need to add another brackets here. That's what we forgot. Okay, now it should be working at this point. Let's give it a try. So the first thing we will do is execute the mount event. We got the tasks. Let's try test 3. Beautiful. It is working. Test 4. All right. So the add task is now working. So we just need to do the update and the delete. All right. So in order to do that, let's head over to this one. All right. Update task. So first thing to do is to create the update API again. So this is the SQL that we're going to be using. Let's go over to the APIs. We're going to add another one. Let's call this update. And let me just copy the code from add. All right. And then we also need the dependency over here is the npm. All right. So yeah, so let's start editing this. Just maximize focus. Okay. So we for this one, instead of the insert, we need to do update. Let me just zoom out again, and we had it over here. Let me just copy and paste this. Okay. And let me zoom in. Okay. So let me just put this over here so that it's going to be visible for now. Okay, so we're going to do task text. That's going to be a parameter. Task ID. That's going to be a parameter, and we don't need the insert. The calls to the API, we're going to get the task ID and task text. So the first parameter is going to be the task text, and then the second one is going to be the ID. Okay. So yeah, so this should be working. It's not going to be really returning anything, so we don't need to check for return. We just need to return success or something. Really, it doesn't matter what we return. We're not going to be looking at that. Okay, so let's zoom out and minimize this. Okay, so the next step is update task with prompt. So we need to set up the UI. So for the UI, we're going to add an update button. So let's just come over here, add as last child a button. Okay, and we're going to call this button update. And the block that contains them, let's make it flex, justify content space between, align item center. Okay, so now they're showing up separately. And now let's call this update button. Okay. So the JavaScript for this one, when it's clicked, sorry, let me just go over here. When it's clicked, we're going to be calling this. So let me head back. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong button. But, okay, it's going to be this one. Okay, so let me just move this up so that you can see as I'm editing it. Obviously, you don't have to do this when you're building your own. You can see on the screen much easier. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to get the task ID, which task was clicked on. So we're going to get that from the context as before, this.context.task. We're going to get the task ID. And the task text is going to come from the prompt. So let's call this so this is a standard JavaScript function. Please enter task text or just task, and then the value is going to come from, again, the context, task text. Okay, so and if the user does not enter anything, then obviously we don't need to do anything, or they hit cancel. Other than that, we're going to be calling the API, the update API. Oh, this needs to be an async function. All right, this dot call API, we're going to call update. What we're going to call send as parameters is task ID and task text. Okay, and if the response is success, then we know that it was successful. Then we need to, sorry, let me just move this up. Then we need to set the state, update the tasks in state. So for that one, let me just move this down. Okay, tasks.map. So we're going to do standard map task is going to map into an object, and task ID is not going to be changing. And the task text, that's going to be changing. If the task ID is the one that just got updated, then the task text is going to be the one that was entered. Otherwise, it's going to be tasks on task text. All right. Let me see. So this one, so this matches to this. Okay, this is the map, and then this one is the state. Yeah. So at this point, it should be working fine. All right. So let's go ahead and test that out. Let me just zoom out and minimize this. All right. So we will try to update this record. Let's say 4x. All right. It is working. So something, yeah. So now the update is basically where update task is working. The only thing remaining is the delete task. All right. So in order to do that, first we need to create the delete API. We're going to be, it's going to be very similar to the update. We're just going to be calling the delete. So let's just go over here to the APIs, and I'm just going to be copying this code, create the delete API, delete, and I'm just going to paste it, save it, and add the npm dependency like the other ones. Okay, now let me just open this up, zoom. Okay, so it's got, sorry, zoom back. So we need this SQL here. So that's the SQL that we're going to be using in the delete API. Zoom in again. So we're just going to do this. And the ID here is, again, going to be a parameter. The delete call does not need the task parameter. It just needs the ID parameter, so we can just send it like that. And like update, we don't really have anything to return. We're just going to be deleting from tasks where task ID is, and then the parameter is whatever's passed in. All right, let me just zoom out, minimize this. And so now we need to build the delete task UI. Let's just do that over here. So this is the block that we have. That's the container block that contains the dynamic text and the update button. So what we want to do is we want to put the update button in a div and then add a delete button next to it. So for that one, we're going to use the bulk operations here because that's relatively easy. Wrap it in a block. That's common. Okay, so now we have a block over here. Yeah, so we're just going to be taking this one and we're going to clone it. But this one we're going to call delete button. All right, and let's name it so delete button. So this one is the update button. This one is the delete button. So therefore we should name this delete. All right. And we should probably switch them, just so that, the update is usually more common operation. We don't want people accidentally deleting stuff. So let's just come over here. We're going to cut that and paste it over here. All right. All right, so now we have the delete button over here. The JavaScript function for this needs to be different, obviously. So we're going to add a new click event handler. It's going to be something new. And yeah, so now we need to look at the class. So the delete button click is over here. I'm going to move it up so that it's going to be clear when I'm editing it. Zoom in. All right. So this is the delete event handler. Delete button click. And for this one, again, it's going to be very similar to the update. We're going to get the task from the context. And again, we're going to be calling the API. This time we don't need to get the new task. We're going to call the delete API with just the task ID. All right. And the response should be success. Again, it's going to be very similar to what we had over here. If the response is success, then we're going to update the state, right? So, but this time it's not going to be a map, it's going to be a filter. So we just need to make sure that the task ID, so task ID not equals to the deleted task ID. So everything else can stay on, but the one that that was deleted is not going to be in there. All right, and then this needs to be async. Okay, so let me just zoom out, minimize this. All right, so at this point it should be working. Let's give it a try. So I'm gonna run the mount event. Okay, that brings up everything. And let's try to delete this one. Yeah, and this one. All right. Yeah, it seems to be working fine. And let's try it in the front end. Yeah, so test one, add, and update 1x, delete it, working perfectly. All right, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching.